Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today we are going to take a look at Pluto turning retrograde in the sign of Aquarius, and we're going to do horoscopes for all 12 signs so that we can take a look at what topics have been activated by Pluto's recent ingress into Aquarius, as well as this upcoming retrograde, which is really the first major retrograde of significance because this retrograde will not involve Pluto dipping back into Capricorn. So we're getting our first long concentrated retrograde fully in the sign of Aquarius. And I think that's significant, especially coming right off the Mars-Pluto opposition. So why not take a look at this, run through all 12 whole sign horoscopes, do a little refreshing on what Pluto and Aquarius has been up to in our lives. So I hope that you will find this useful. Before we get into it, as always, remember to like and subscribe. If astrology is a part of your spiritual life, then make this a part of your daily spiritual practice. When you subscribe, it really helps our channel to grow. We've seen that there's a huge number of people who watch regularly but are not yet subscribed. That little action makes a world of difference to us, so we do appreciate it. You can find transcripts of any of these daily talks on my website, which is nightlightastrology.com. I'm going to take you over there. There's a couple of promotions that I have for us today. As you know, we're in enrollment season for my upcoming year one course. We have 4 years of professional astrology training programs at the Nightlight Astrology School. I lead all of them, but we also have a wonderful staff of tutors that are there between our major units of study to guide you through the curriculum. Go to the courses page. If you're starting from brand new, check out Astrology for Beginners. It's about a 10-hour audio video course that's pre-recorded. Everything else is live. But the first year course starts June 22nd. When you go over to the first year course page, you will, if I can get there, there we go. You will see everything that it includes. And after today's video, when I sign off, you'll also find an informational video. It's about 12 minutes long that explains everything the program includes. So if you have more questions about it and are thinking about studying, check that out. There's also a nice video on that page where you can hear an interview with some alumni from the program. So 30 classes on the year. I lead all of them. They're all recorded if you can't make the live webinars. They are going to be on Sundays coming up here, starting on June 22nd. So at the bottom of the page, you will also find the enrollment options. And if I can scroll over there, here we go. There's an early bird sale that lasts until May 15th. So if you want to take advantage of the sale prices, make sure you register before May 15th for the course. And then we also have need-based tuition. If you are someone who is being hit hard by the economy right now, or if you're someone who the exchange rate is really high, or whatever the case might be, if you're on a fixed or limited income, you're experiencing financial hardship or limited budget, we want to make sure that people can study astrology, a sacred topic, in a way that matches your budget. There should be an investment. We believe that for everyone, but we know that not everyone's the same. So we have this option for you. If you can use it, please do. The other thing I want to share is my wife's program. You guys have met Ashley on the channel not long ago. She's been on a couple times recently talking about herbs and remediation of herbs and astrology. If you want to study in her herbal apprenticeship course, the Herbal Foundations apprenticeship course has just begun on April 24th. But it is not too late to join. And these are module-based courses. This is a module-based course that goes through a variety of different topics over the course of a year. And in between the pre-recorded modules on plant spirit medicine, you also have meetups with Ashley to study and ask questions together and review the program material. So it's another really great course. These are things that my wife and I have built over a long period of time. We've trained thousands of people through our programs and hope that some of you may find benefit in them. The final thing that I want to promote this week, I'm taking a little extra time to tell you about a book that I was recently gifted from the publisher called Divination, Oracles, and Omens. I'm getting nothing to promote this book. I just wanted to appreciate it. It is a great, to me, when academics are showing an interest in divination, I think that's great. I want more people of a high quality of thinking and scholarship to legitimate the world's, the planet's really great traditions of divination. This is a book that takes you through so many different divinatory traditions from all over the world. The Buryat Mongolian card divination, astrology in Renaissance Europe, the tarot, the I Ching, African basket divination. It's just such a nice collection like a reference of all the great world's divination traditions. Again, I get nothing for promoting this, but check it out. Divination, Oracles and Omens by Michelle Aroney and David Zeitlyn. Can't say enough about what a nice little resource book that is. So they sent me a copy. I said, I'd love to just promote it on the channel. Okay, so I apologize for a little extended promo time today. Typically, I try to cut it off at about 3 minutes. But anyway, let's get into it. We're going to take a look at our horoscopes. I want to talk a little bit about why Pluto turning retrograde is significant before we actually break down the horoscope sign by sign. Let's take a look at Pluto's journey. I'm going to keep Mars in here just to highlight a few interesting things that come along with, I mean, it's just really interesting that Pluto is turning retrograde right after the contact with Mars. So as you are listening to this, check this out. You've got, so this is Friday, April 25th. Excuse me, sorry, wrong Friday. Here we go. Friday, May 2nd. Friday, May 2nd, you can see that Mars is separated from the 3-degree range with Pluto. In ancient astrology, the 3 degrees of a planet applying and separating were called an engagement range. And within that range, that is the range within which, I should say, you will typically see the manifestation of promised events that reflect the symbolism of the planets meeting in the sky through aspect. During the coming to meet phase, the application of the transit, you will typically see the events or effects amplified or get growing stronger and reaching a kind of peak moment around the exact time of the opposition. However, within the 3-degree range afterward, it's a phase that was talked about as a flowing forth of the two planets meeting, and that flowing forth would also be likened unto a, let's say, fruit falling off from a tree, or like a hair falling off from your head. So something that has lived is now falling off. So we can see the manifested results within those 3 degrees separating, which gives us a pretty, almost 2 full weeks really of dealing with Mars-Pluto. But what's so interesting is if we take that flowing forth as the conclusion of the process, then look, by Sunday, just 2 days later, as Mars is just out of the engagement range, Pluto, you can see the little S next to it, is stationing to turn retrograde. Now, this is the first retrograde that Pluto will make in Aquarius without dipping back into Capricorn. So this makes it the first concentrated period of reflection, revision, reversals, changes of direction, gathered insights that retrogrades typically reflect for Pluto in Aquarius. This is the first time Pluto's just totally concentrated on this sign of Aquarius, which is really interesting. It's for that reason, in addition to the fact that retrograde is happening after the encounter with Mars, it's as though the Mars-Pluto opposition is triggering a period of review, reflection, and revision in that whole sign house of Aquarius. And so that's how we're going to look at it through horoscopes. And I just want to take you back in time a little bit. If we go backward, we've gotten to know Pluto very slowly in the sign of Aquarius. So here is Pluto first entering Aquarius around March of 2023. Now, March of 2023, that's like 2 years ago. So, we've already had little encounters for that long. What I want you to also notice is, look at this. This is happening around May of 2023. We have, in fact, had an opposition between Mars in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius before. If you go back to May of 2023, it's right around that time that Mars and Pluto are opposing one another once more. So you could actually draw some parallels between what is happening right now as we sit here, the end of April, beginning of May 2025, and things that were taking place in the spring of 2023. There's a kind of echo. So that's one thing for some of you who like to track that you may take interest in before we get into our horoscopes. Now, I want to go, the retrograde of Pluto came pretty quickly. Pluto entered Aquarius in March, and by May was retrograde and bumped right out of Aquarius by June. So we got a very brief introduction, but we did have the same Mars-Pluto dynamic during that time. Now, if we move forward, we're going to see that Pluto in Aquarius just kind of speeds along here. And right as Pluto enters Aquarius now, for the second time, which is happening in the early part of 2024, if I back this up just a touch, Pluto goes in about January 21st of 2024. But isn't it interesting that right as Pluto does that, we have another contact with Mars? You can see how the story of Mars and Pluto has been woven together at a few critical moments already in Pluto's stay in the sign of Aquarius. So here is another one. This is about mid-February of 2024. What was happening around that time? So one thing that I find very interesting about this, for example, I know this is kind of weird, like it's a random story, but under each one of these Mars-Pluto dynamics, there were significant transformations in our journey with owning dogs. And the decision to get a second dog, the actual getting of the second dog, the death of our first dog that we thought was going to live a lot longer, the mourning of that dog, and then the decision to, about a year later, get another dog. And now as Mars-Pluto perfecting, we just got a puppy. So even though I'm not sure exactly what that's all about, like in my own chart, I'm kind of like, that's interesting. I'm sure with more reflection, especially as we get to know the puppy, things will become clearer. But it's amazing to me. The point is how you can actually track the development of certain stories in your life along these timelines. And that's one of them for sure. So anyway, Mars-Pluto met again in February of 2024. Now let's take this forward a little bit. And here we're going to get to Pluto's retrograde comes in the spring of 2024. It's right about May 3rd, right around there, that Pluto's stationing, so very similar timing. Pluto turns retrograde, goes back into Capricorn, and now as it's in Capricorn finalizing, we get the Mars opposition. And that Mars opposition we've studied at length recently came in November of 2024. And then Pluto enters Aquarius, Mars turns retrograde in Leo. They meet in an opposition one more time, and they do so in early January of 2025. Then Mars's long retrograde through Cancer occurs, comes back, hits Pluto by an opposition again. We've just looked at that, and now Pluto's turning retrograde again. So the point is that since Pluto has entered Aquarius, there have been many moments, key moments in Pluto's transitions across the sign boundary, stations and retrogrades, direct and retrograde, that have involved Mars. And so just to totally show you the full picture so that you get this feeling, hopefully kind of in your body, that what's just happened, whatever the most dramatic Mars-Pluto things you've just witnessed, are going to be triggering this period of deep focused revision at last in the sign of Aquarius. No more Capricorn, just exclusively Aquarius. That gives us a lot more to think about. So with nothing further to say on the tracking note, let's get into some horoscopes. And again, my goal here is to simply give you a sense of where this deeper process of Plutonian revision, upheaval, destruction and rebirth, regeneration, fertilization, empowerment, but also things that need to change, that there's an inevitability, a sense of fatedness to the things that must go or be eliminated or removed or that have to pass away so that new life can come in. That's what Pluto's all about. So some reminders for all 12 signs. If you are an Aries, this Mars-Pluto opposition is triggering review, revision, breakdown, regeneration, transformation in the house of allies, friends, groups, community, long-term ambitions, dreams, and goals for the future, and who that connects you with most meaningfully. There's a revision process taking place here for Aries in that 11th house. If we go on to, If we go on to Taurus, this is a Mars-Pluto opposition that has triggered review, reflection, regeneration, transformation in the house of your career. in the workplace, in your professional calling, in vocation, in the direction of your future with respect to career, but also the public house, the public facing self, what engages you with the world. There are paradigmatic changes taking place in that house for Tauruses. And this is a period of concentrated review and reflection where you get to implement things that have been gained or learned going back to November. For Geminis, we're looking at this in the 9th house. This Mars-Pluto opposition has triggered the ongoing transformation of core beliefs, learning, education, teachers, the capacity that you may have to teach or how you teach if you're a teacher. Also, connections to foreign countries, the topic of spirituality and religion. And there is an ongoing process of transformation. And now there's a period of concentrated review, reflection, revision. What have you learned? What is changing with respect to the process of learning and spirituality? With Cancerians, it is the 8th house, which is the place of our karmic contracts and soul bonds with other people. This Mars-Pluto opposition has triggered something across the 2nd and the 8th. Is there a transformation with respect to values and finances, with money, expenses, income and expenditures overall, debts, the paying off of debts, a change in direction with respect to things like investments, but also all different kinds of soul contracts with other people. What do I give other people? What do they give me? There might be, small print that we've overlooked or that's been relatively unconscious within the connections that we have with other people, and those may be transforming. There may be a period of review or revision with respect to what is shared or what the exchange is within your relationships, and how do we make healthier or different ones, or how are we reviewing or reflecting upon our soul contracts, and also the death and rebirth of people in our lives that we share things with or that we have shared a space of depth with. So transformation in bonds and relationships as well. All right, for Leos, that Mars-Pluto opposition across your 1st and 7th has triggered this period of intensive review and reflection and transformation. Again, that Plutonian word in the 7th house of relationships. So interpersonal relationships, soul contracts with other people like spouses or lovers, but also you could say anyone you share a deeper interpersonal connection with, even people you work with or have ongoing like working partnerships or working relationships with. Also, the landscape of your social life in general is changing. And it's changing as you're changing, because that Mars in the 1st is triggering a conversation about self and other. So introspection, existential, personal developments alongside of deeper reflection upon and change within the social life or your intimate relationships. That can also speak to things about, speak to sexuality. Now, for Virgos, we see that Pluto is in your 6th. So the Mars-Pluto opposition across the 12th and the 6th, triggering this period of reflection for Pluto. Actually, I'm going to bring Pluto up to the retrograde. There we go. So in the 6th house, I think a lot about conflict, and I think a lot about sacrifice and hard work. Anytime I'm working with a client and I see major transits in the 6th, I think, what are you working hard for? What requires discipline, effort, focus, perseverance, sacrifice, something that you believe in or you're willing to give or serve? Serving a process, serving a learning, a process of learning something, serving a larger project. So the element of sacrificial service comes to mind. But also what is or isn't worth the time, the energy, the sacrifice. Because if you're sacrificing constantly and burning yourself out for things you don't actually care about, that's typically the worst of the 6th. So what does the process look like right now with respect to the work you're doing, the things that have your heart and you're pouring yourself into, and how are they changing, or are you refining your interests, your sense of purpose, your dedication? And then also like transformation of things around sickness and disease. Pluto in this house can bring in a deeper awareness of what makes you feel good or healthy versus what drains you or makes you sick. So think about those things. Also, I would say that for Pluto in the 6th, there's a sense of if I work hard over a long period of time, there are going to be very powerful levels of success or rewards for hard work. Pluto in the sixth says, look, if you are humble and you work really hard and you transform yourself from the inside out on behalf of your goals, you become more virtuous and more able and capable, and you really become your best self in addition to maybe learning new skills. These things are going to pay off, so stick with it. All right, let's go forward to Libra. So if you are a Libra, we're looking at the fifth house Pluto having been triggered by the Mars opposition in the 11th. We're talking now about a place of creativity and pleasure, a place that speaks to how satisfied are we? Life should be enjoyable. Life should be creatively satisfying in our relationships, with creative pursuits, with time for joy, leisure, and fun, for romance, for pleasure. Pluto in this house may be changing or refining or revising your relationship with creativity and pleasure. The topic of children and pregnancy is, of course, one of the major topics for this house. Pluto in this house is asking you, in what ways do your thoughts need to change if you're not feeling creatively satisfied? In what way are ideas holding you back from a deeper experience of pleasure? The level at which ideology or ideas that are too rigid and prohibit some level of creative exploration, to whatever extent those kinds of ideas are at work in your life is the extent to which Pluto may be working to transform them and release things that are repressive. Pluto in the fifth also, to me, speaks to a period of creative refinement and innovation. So watch for that for you, Librans. For Scorpios, we're looking at this in the fourth house: home, family, living environment, the roots, ancestry, parental karma, and your private life, the inner life, the place that people can't see as easily, the you that you don't show every single person. What is happening in the private? What is happening within? And as well as the mundane changes happening around home and family. Pluto is suggesting a process of reflection, revision, review, a crystallization of insights that you've been receiving going back to the fall of 2024. So watch for that if you're Scorpio. For Sagittarians, this third house transit speaks to the mind. What are you passionate about right now, mentally, intellectually? In what ways are you being seized by the shadows of unconsciousness in the mind, like extremism or fanaticism or idealism or perfectionism? Any of the mind's distortions and the work to remove those distortions or heal your mind can be implied by Pluto in the third house. Also, transformation around topics like siblings, neighborhood, immediate everyday environment. What does the village life look like? In your day-to-day life, the third house is like the village you live in. What changes are coming, maybe reflective of things happening in the collective with Pluto there? But also just a transformation of mind, maybe an emphasis on learning, sometimes technology, paradigmatic changes for Sagittarians, and maybe a theme of revolution mentally, intellectually. For Capricorns, we see this in the second house. This is a place that reflects our money, our assets, our values, our resources, the things we build or develop that we can say, this is mine, I have this, I made this, I own this, or I possess this. But also, in the second house, everything that we have or possess or develop, even skills as resources, are things that we're doing for the sake of security, ease, comfort, and pleasure in the material world. So Pluto's suggesting some deeper level of change happening around those things, maybe how you evaluate what happiness or security looks like in the material sense. Now, for Aquarians, this is in your first house. It's quite existential. What are you looking at within yourself? What kinds of changes of character or mind or mentality or psychology or body or health have been coming up for you? And right now there's an opportunity to take what's happened, reflect upon it, and do some really deep inner work, personal revisions, personal space for reflection, and then implementing a new version of yourself as the retrograde takes place. I'll say something about the length of the retrograde, which I'm realizing I haven't said yet after I'm done with Pisces. But you've got a span of months now in front of you where the opportunity to reflect and implement changes that you've gotten from, downloads that you've gotten going back to November is really powerful. It's a time of personal, psychological, maybe physical transformation for Aquarians. Alongside of that, the Aquarian changes in the first house often come as we are revising ideas that we have about ourself or others or reality itself. Ideas are the means by which self is changed and shaped for many Aquarians. And then finally, with Pisces, we're looking at Pluto in the 12th house. Now, in that 12th house environment, we're talking about changes that may feel vast and beyond us. Because the 12th house is such a subliminal or liminal place, it's not always easy to see or recognize the process of change that a Pluto retrograde in the 12th house is indicating. But what I would say is this: what have you become aware of that was previously unconscious in the past few months? What kinds of unconscious material, whether that be the positive people or influences in your life that you're saying, oh, wow, I'm aware of those now. Those are really good for me. Or those that aren't so good for me. I'm aware that this thing that I do or this behavior or this thought pattern or these people or this environment isn't so good for me. A lot of the 12th house boils down to subtle influences that with more awareness will bring greater health and greater spiritual growth into our lives. So what is in that blind spot? What has been what has been brought into your awareness since November? And what can you do with what's been subtly brought into your awareness? Also, the process of separating from the world, taking time to explore vaster or more spiritual or mystical states of consciousness. Also, maybe an opportunity there with Pluto in the 12th. Finally, nope, that is finally. That's it. So let's talk about the retrograde cycle, because I did forget to mention that at the beginning. So Pluto's retrograde at 3 degrees will take it all the way down to 1 degree. And that first degree, here we go. I'm going to back it up just a touch more. So we can see that Pluto is stationing to turn direct around October 13th. So if we stretch that forward, we've got May, June, July, August, September, about 5 months of Pluto retrograding until October, at which point it turns direct again. That means that there's about a 5-month period here to review, reflect on everything we've gone through, much of which was encapsulated by those encounters with Mars since last November that just finally finished. What a concentrated period of growth, and pretty intense at some key moments. I mean, that Mars-Pluto opposition for a lot of people was pretty intense. So I think it's nice to see that there's a nice long stretch, 5 months to integrate, to heal. We're going to get Jupiter in Cancer where Mars was, bringing a kind of salve to the place of Mars. I think there's a lot of room here to feel like there can be some ease where, there was more intensity over the past 4 or 5 months. So we'll leave it there. After I sign off, you can learn more about the Year 1 program. Come study with us. There's an amazing community of people at Nightlight that have been through our programs that continue to learn and grow through all 4 years of our curriculum. But even if you just start with Year 1, I know you're going to love it. I think it's worth it to deepen your own connection with astrology, really become more of your own expert. And also, some of you will find that even if you start there, you probably have the talent to read for other people. If you're into astrology at the level of watching my channel pretty regularly, then you probably also have the capacity to read for others, because you know a lot more about astrology already than a lot of people do. And just taking it to the next level, getting some structure, coming into a lineage with a full staff of people, and really providing you some groundwork and some confidence. That's, for many people, it's a deeply beneficial process. So hope to see you there. Remember, the need-based tuition is there as well. And we'll talk again tomorrow. Bye. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. I'm excited to tell you about our upcoming program, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. It is our first-year course in Hellenistic astrology that begins at the end of June. June 22nd is our starting date. I'm going to take you over to the course page to tell you more about the program and what you will learn while you are in it. So here we go over to the Nightlight Astrology website. You can find this at nightlightastrology.com. Click on the courses tab, go to the first year course. Now, this program is ideal for people who maybe have a little bit of background already in astrology. Maybe you've done some studying on your own independently, taken some courses or webinars and workshops, but you're looking to deepen your understanding of astrology. And maybe Hellenistic astrology in particular has been calling to you. I'll tell you more about what Hellenistic astrology is in a minute, but on the first year course page, you're going to find everything that the course includes. I want to make the structure of the course clear first. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you 5 reasons that I think anyone might have for studying astrology. And you can see if you check any of those boxes. First of all, there are 30 classes on the year. It's just a little under a year-long program with 30 webinars. Every webinar is 2 to 3 hours long, including a lively Q&A and conversational section after we finished our lesson for the day. Each of those lessons I lead personally through live webinars, so you can attend those live. If you want to follow along at your own pace in your own time on your own schedule, you can always look at the recordings and take those in. And I'm going to show you what the class page looks like so you can see how you can interact with the course as uniquely and creatively as you want to. But you can either attend the live webinars or listen to the recordings or audio or video. In between major units of study within those 30 classes, we have separate classes outside of the 30 classes that are essentially tutoring sessions led by our staff, our course directors. We have 3 of them for our first year program, 3 tutors that help me guide every single class you're in and lead study sessions, and are also staffing an interactive group forum discussion where you can ask questions, look at charts, practice what you're learning with all of your classmates and with tutors there to help you. They'll always answer questions within a business day. So it's a really well-staffed, well-structured program. In between those major units of study and the breakout sessions, we also have guest speakers that come in throughout the year that you get free access to. The recordings are archived for you in your class folders. So you're getting people within our curriculum. And you're also getting to visit with some astrologers who are outside of the Nightlight School, but we really admire their work, and so we bring them in. You also have a ton of bonus material. With every lesson, we have recommended quizzes, study guides, optional reading. And that allows people who are really, really, intense, deep, like studious types to go as far as you want to with the material, while other people who are maybe, content to take things in at, just kind of taking in the classes, that's there for you too. So you can kind of go as deeply as you want to. The class, as the year goes on, goes through major units of study in ancient Hellenistic astrology. So if you're not familiar with ancient Hellenistic astrology, this is the earliest form of horoscopic astrology. This is where the astrology that you've probably learned today comes from originally. And that makes some of its features unique. Like, for example, ancient astrologers utilized whole sign houses. We study why they used whole sign houses, how they used them, and we study the why behind really everything: houses, signs, planets, aspects, dignities, essential and accidental dignities, delineation approaches. How do you read and predict within a natal chart? All of those theoretical areas of astrology, we not only learn how to do, but we learn the why behind it. And this is what I think people find most empowering about the course, is that ancient astrology really helps to give you the rationale for everything so that you have the insight available to go off script. What I mean by that is, like, let's say you're learning about a sign, Aries or Taurus or a Gemini, something like that. Ancient astrology won't just give you a list of the adjectives or keywords or descriptions of, say, a sign or a planet. It will give you an underlying philosophical explanation that then allows you to extrapolate from it the kinds of lists that you read in textbooks, which means you'll have an understanding of why everything on a list in a textbook is there in the first place. And you'll also have the insight and creativity available to add things to the list that are a part of your own unique intuition and contribution to astrology. And this is what ancient astrologers wanted students of astrology to learn, the why behind everything. So this is a class where, even though you're seeing things like planet signs, houses, dignities, aspects, and you're like, oh, I've already learned about those things. Not if you haven't studied Hellenistic astrology. I don't mean to sound condescending, but like, truly, most people's experience coming through this program is, wow, I had no idea all that I didn't know about the roots of everything that I've understood thus far about astrology. So it really is about digging into the philosophical core of why we do everything. And then you have greater intuitive and creative capacity as an astrological craftsman or craftswoman. So anyway, that's a brief explanation of why I think Hellenistic astrology is important. Not to mention that ancient astrology was really focused on our ability to accurately describe and predict things in the realm of karma, fate, and destiny. Whereas modern astrology's hallmark and strength is psychological depth. And so when you put the two together in our program, which is why it's called Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic, I think you have something really special. So on that note, you can see everything that we cover here. So there's a video with some of our alumni you can watch. Everything is there on the page. Now, there are 5 reasons that I want to touch on briefly before I tell you about your payment options and need-based tuition. These are 5 reasons to study astrology that if you mark any of these boxes, especially if you mark several of them, then I think it's a good indication that you might be ideal for this program, might be an ideal fit. So the first one is if you find that astrology has become a part of your daily, weekly, monthly, yearly spiritual practice, it is a part of how you lead an inner life, then there is nothing more empowering than deepening your connection to that language, because that puts you more in the driver's seat. It's always good to have astrologers that you rely on, teachers that you listen to, get a little objective perspective, especially when you're looking at your own chart through a reading. But there's really nothing more empowering than learning to speak the language at a deeper level for yourself. And if that calls to you, if you want to understand things and be able to speak more confidently and clearly about this sacred language that you love, and this is a great reason to take a structured program. Number 2 is that you feel called to read charts for people. And look, not everyone who takes our programs is on a professional track, but we have 4 years worth of professional training programs at Nightlight that will prepare you to read professionally for others if that's the path that you're on. Maybe you don't even know if you're on that path. That's fine too. Many people take our programs just for the sake of their own personal enrichment. And again, to be kind of more in the driver's seat with respect to your astrological journey. You have more of an understanding. You can be more confident in reading symbols and experiencing transits with your own understanding that you've cultivated. But sometimes people want to read for other people. This will definitely set you up to do that. We have a certification track where you can take exams at the end of every year. They're optional. You don't have to if you're not on that level of interest. Number 3, you have done a lot of self-study. You've heard things from here and there, but you're looking to bring it all together. It is overwhelming to study astrology on your own. So if you want organization, structure, and coherence, what you're getting in this program is going on 15 years of training astrologers, 15 years of developing curriculum that has in mind the overwhelm that many people experience. And this program is structured year 1, year 2, year 3, however far you want to go with our curriculum, to give you an organized, structured, coherent way of understanding the history and language of astrology from both ancient times to modern times in all of the vastness that the field includes. And also, as we go, we want to give you the confidence that you are a part now of an astrological lineage. Astrology has always been practitioner-based. Coming through Nightlight, you are going to have the opportunity to feel aligned with a lineage. If you like my work, if you feel aligned with the way I speak the language, then this might be a good reason to come study with us. Now, if you're seeking the why behind things, if you're like, yeah, that's interesting, I get it, I understand, but why? Why signs? What's the difference between a sign and a house? Why do they ever come up with a sign and a house? What's the distinction philosophically? Why does Mars represent this? Why does Mars in this sign represent that? If you are someone who feels empowered by understanding the why behind things, you are going to love this program, because that's how I am as a teacher. That's how I am as a person. And that's what this program is really all about. Number 5, you are looking for astrological community. Look, I think Nightlight is unique in terms of the kind of warmth, acceptance, safety, and inclusiveness that our community includes intellectually, spiritually. We are really pride ourselves on being a peaceful kind of family. I'm a Cancer, right? So it's kind of a family-oriented environment. So anyway, I will end it there. If you check any of those boxes, you may want to consider studying with us. Now, I'm going to take you over to 2 things. I want to show you the dashboard. So here is the Thinkific page. You're going to join this. And on your dashboard, you're going to find any courses that you've enrolled in at Nightlight. And there are many, so you may end up in being involved in multiple courses. And you'll find that they're all there on your dashboard. Click on one of them and it will take you in. you're going to find that on the left-hand side, there's orientation instructions, course information, class links, and calendar, all the technical stuff you need to know when you join the course. And then you're going to find that when you go through the lessons, that the lesson includes the video, the audio, the slides, the transcripts, the Q&A box text if you couldn't make it live and see what people were talking about, flashcards, homework, a bonus PDF with all sorts of additional recommended reading, bonus videos, additional video links for bonus material. So every single time that you want to visit something within the course, everything is nicely organized. So you can see here, I'm going to pause this before it starts going, but you can embed the video right there. It's embedded and you can watch it. And then if you wanted to, you could also, right here, you could also download the video and watch it on your own device. And that's same for the audio as well. And then as you go, you'll see all of the lessons are laid out. The study sessions are also recorded if you can't make those live. So everything is nicely arranged on the website for you. And that makes it a course that if you wanted to take 3 years to accomplish, you could take 3 years to accomplish. If you want to take it for the sake of getting certified, you have the full year plus an additional year to take the exam. So, 2 years total that we give people if you're on a professional track. But most people complete the program in a year. And a lot of people, over 50% of our students go on to our year 2 and then our year 3 and horary programs as well. Now, final thing I'm going to show you is right here. You're going to find here is the enrollment options at the bottom of the first year course page. Again, this is at nightlightastrology.com, and you're going to click on the first year course, go to the bottom. The early bird payment saves you several $100s off the cost of the course. That's available till May 15th. Early bird installment plan saves you on the installment plan, regular cost of the course. That's also only available until May 15th. And then need-based tuition. All of our programs include a need-based option where we give you a sliding scale and we say, you pick your monthly tuition number within this sliding scale, which is greatly reduced off the normal tuition price. That is for people who are on a fixed or limited income, receiving disabilities, single mom, whatever the case might be. We want to make sure that nobody's priced out of studying astrology. So you don't have to feel any shame. If that is you, if you need help, if you want to take this, but you need to make it work within a tight budget, we get it. Times are tough right now. We don't think people should be priced out of studying a sacred subject like astrology. So we've been offering need-based pricing for 15 years. Nightlight is a donation-based school. It started that way. We have a sliding scale, so it's kind of like donation. You get to choose your rate anyhow. So if that's something that will help you, please use it. Thank you for listening to this. I hope it gave you a really deep and comprehensive introduction to what the course is all about and why you might find it exciting to come study with us starting at the end of June. So any questions you have about the program as you're visiting the course, email us, info@nightlightastrology.com. We'll be glad to talk about anything that you have questions about. We are here and we have a wonderful staff of people at Nightlight who will be a part of your learning experience and are all glad to help you. All right, that's it. We'll see you again later. Bye.